Hi, welcome to Conversion Conversations. I'm Cameron, and today I have a very special guest. This is Dan Arnold from Vector Sigma. He got second place at Origins, I guess by the time you're seeing this 2 weekends ago, piloting a bunch of different decks through the tournament. And yeah, we got to know each other at Origins, which was a lot of fun to get to know you and the Vector Sigma team. So I wanted to have you on and kind of talk to you about a little bit about your TCG background and then also just your time with Transformers so far. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Yeah, Origins was a blast. It was definitely a lot of fun getting to know you and some of the other guys that I hadn't met yet. So definitely an experience. You're an experience, sir.
I appreciate that. I've been told. So, I guess let's start with a bit of background. Transformers is not your first game. I don't remember which of the Vector Sigma guys had which game previously. Were you World of Warcraft?
Yeah. It wasn't like my first game. I could go back to when I was in like seventh or eighth grade and I played like Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon. But Magic was probably like my first love. Like I played Magic for like 4 or 5 years. Like semi-competitive. And then I played WoW for its entire duration. So
What was, I guess, Matt previously from Nano Machines had kind of a similar experience with Pokemon. He's still playing that, but
mhm.
I guess I'm always curious about if you were bringing someone new into Transformers and they had played World of Warcraft previously. How would you describe Transformers as a game format to them to make them understand the appeal?
Absolutely nothing like World of Warcraft, that's for sure. um, if I had to explain it, it's definitely in some ways on the ground floor more basic, because there's like less things you have to do in a turn, since you only have like four given action points between the transform, the attack, the action, and then the upgrade. So in
I
that
guess
level of the
five
game,
five now with tap abilities. That's a
oh,
whole new
oh,
level of
oh,
complexity.
that's fair. So yeah, so you only have so many actual action points in the game. So in that form, it's more simple, but it's a lot more complex once you get into exactly where you're supposed to attack, exactly what card you're supposed to play when. So it's I think at the ground floor of it all, it's very very basic, which is great. And then like there's all of these layers that stack up to create this incredible game that like I've really fell in love with.
Yeah, I think that's something like, I mean, you guys at Vector Sumo figured it out already, but I think that's something
We didn't figure out anything. Stop it.
a lot of, I was gonna say, a lot of the players that I played with at Origins, they were a little less experienced, and I think a lot of people, myself included, we were learning like the game is almost a game of tempo than anything else. It's about like time it right, hold back the reckless charge, so you can pull a grenade launcher or some other weapon to play with it to one shot an important character rather than playing it this turn, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it comes with identifying the correct threats.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that's almost the bare minimum of it, really. Like for aerial bots in general, like aerial bots is all about taking out the biggest threat and then like putting yourself in a position where the other things can't actually harm you.
Yeah, yeah. If you
Um,
take out the hardest hitter and you're Superion, it's going to be tough to get around his
yeah,
like
so
natural toughness.
it's really just about correctly identifying the matchups, and that really only comes with just playing the game. When you go in and you see the surprise deck, maybe you get caught off guard the first or second time scenario, but as long as you're playing enough matchups and you're always identifying what the correct targets are and you're doing your best to get to those targets, then you're generally doing better.
Would you say, is there anything, I guess, you had your tournament run, you played Sentinels Thursday, Aerialbots Friday. You played something Saturday, I think.
Cars.
Cars, and then you did the team deck Sunday, which I don't remember if that video is up for everyone yet. But if it's up on Vector Sigma by the time this comes out, go check out that discussion. It's a very interesting discussion into the thought behind the team deck. Um, Out of those, do you have a particular, like, the team deck took you to second place, but do you have a particular favorite style that you like playing?
Um, So throughout the entire course of Wave 2, if you go to vectorsigma.info, you can see that I top 8 or top 4 with just about anything.
Yeah.
And I did that on purpose because I was always trying to identify all of my matchups through playing everything and seeing different lines and different curves. So I actually like purposely played a different deck at every event. I never wanted to like cheat myself out of getting the most information as possible. And that's really just how I gather information in generally. I love playing everything and doing this and doing that because it's, to me, it's the best possible way for my brain to adapt it all. Like, it's one thing to take from a teammate and listen to them and you get enough information, but you're always going to get more information by doing it yourself, just so you can see it. But for me, I kind of wrote this in my article. I had been working on 3-wide for almost 2 months.
Yep.
Scott Landis created the deck in Wave 1, and we had a list for it on day 1 of Wave 2, and it wasn't very good. And like through the first month, we couldn't really get it in there either. So it was about the time that I had realized that blue was just not being represented well enough, especially in our local meta. And our local meta was very, very orange. And like Aerialbots would show up here and there and get its victories, but other than like the very few amount of players playing it, orange was just everywhere. So I actually had an article going that was in Scott's hands for about 3 weeks, well, about 2 weeks before they announced sideboards and stuff like that, about feeling blue. Because, I just felt like it was being very, very misrepresented in this current metagame. And then it ended up just getting scratched because they announced sideboards, and I didn't feel like redoing the whole damn article just to like talk about sideboards also.
I wonder if that would be an interesting read as a retrospective. Like, put it up with like a little paragraph at the beginning that's like, "Hey, this is like the thought process as metas develop."
Well, I think like if I can go back to the numbers, like of all the lists on Vector Sigma that we had got reported from like anywhere that had sent in an event with, I believe the number was like if you had 15 or more players and you sent your top 4 deck list, we posted it.
Yeah, I was trying to push for my local meta to get to that number of players so hard.
So like I think when I gathered all the information, it was like only like 20% of blue decks were actually in top 4s. So like 80% was either like orange or then like the variable of like Metroplex or Starscream, which is like kind of like the in-between decks. So like it really bothered me to see like that low representation of blue because I just thought that it just wasn't being played. And I don't know if it was just because people didn't know how to correctly value it or if they didn't know how to correctly do their targets and stuff like that. So I started working on the article just so like I could get the information out there, and then it just took too long because Scott was on vacation and different stuff like that. So we just never actually got it out. What are you gonna do?
That's fun. What do you?
But yeah, I think 3-wide would definitely, since even I played that at the last event of Wave 1 and went undefeated in that event. So like the 2 events that I played 3-wide at, I've had 1 loss. So I can't really complain much more about that deck. It's pretty good. I got a lot of games with it.
Is that the first thing you're looking at in Siege? Is how do I, when you look at a new wave, do you say, because I also thought, I guess I want to make a quick note because other people don't know this. When we were at Origins, anytime anyone would bring up Siege, you have your game face on. You said, look, Siege doesn't exist until Monday. Until then, like it doesn't matter. We are in wave 2.
To me, it didn't matter. Yep. To me, it didn't. And I'm like that in every game. Like especially in an event like that. Like I made jokes about it afterwards. Like, see, guys, I did the best because I didn't care about Siege.
But I think it's right. There's value in staying focused.
Sometimes, I mean, I don't know. It's just me. I don't think it's like right or wrong to do anything otherwise. It's just the way I focus on the game. Like even like for pre-releases and stuff like that. Even like when I played WoW. Like, I didn't care about spoilers. Like, that was a little different because, like, Sealed wasn't, like, crazy competitive, like, for the events that I would go to for WoW. So, like, I wouldn't mind going and opening new cards and, like, actually genuinely being surprised by them. But for this game, it was just, like, I knew Origins was coming, and I just didn't even want another thought in my head other than being focused on the decks we were playing at Origins.
What now that Siege is coming out next weekend, is there, when you look at a wave, do you go back first and look at, okay, here's my old deck 3-wide Prime, how do I prep it for Siege, or do you build something totally new the first time around? What's the first deck you go to when you see a wave?
All right, so generally my my part of the process for Vector Sigma is that I'm generally the one that'll go back and look at the other decks and see what can be adapted. Especially just because like Mark and Scott are just so above and beyond the creative of deck design that like I don't even necessarily need to be a part of it to an extent, and like I can just come in and be the second level guy of like, all right. So like I get the list, I can see it, we play a couple games, I'm like, all right, let's do this, that, and this. That's more my comfort zone than anything. And it's the same thing for like the new decks. Like even next week, I should be having an article coming out. It's going to be about like the changes for the blue decks that I would go like into Siege with. Like, okay, like here's these new cards that are coming out, and these are the ones that I want to adapt and put into these decks and see how it sticks. Mm-hmm. That's always been my process of just taking that and just trying to tune it for the new meta. But I would love to have the time to create and design. I actually just don't need to, because like I already have two guys on the team that are committed to doing those things. And then Vince also does his billion things.
Yep.
So like he throws like 90 nails against the wall, and then we just see which one sticks.
Yep.
So I don't actually need to do that. That's not my role on the team, basically.
You mentioned previously that in World of Warcraft, which you mentioned like that was kind of your favorite up until Transformers, the sealed the draft formats weren't as competitive as constructed.
It's kind of like this weekend. Like there's like a pre-release weekend. So like for that level of event, I didn't care about, because it was just like 20 of us getting together and just playing in the pre-release. So like even for next weekend, like I wouldn't be super competitive next weekend. I would just be more of like, oh, I'm just gonna do this because like it's fun to do type thing. Now, granted, I didn't actually do that because I don't think I can attend any next weekend, which is just unfortunate. My best friend's wedding, so people got to get married, right?
Yeah.
But I did go into it more in depth than I would have. WoW, but I think that's just because now that I'm part of the team and we run the YouTube and we're doing like a whole sealed week and everything like that. So when this is posted, it probably had already happened. But we're focusing literally the entire upcoming week on sealed. So like I actually like took the time to get familiar with everything and go through the sequencing.
Do you think? I know Gencon's not going to have any sealed stuff.
Well, it does.
Yes, but not as
there are sealed events. There's just not qualifiers.
Qualifier, yeah. That's I should have been more specific. Gencon's going to have, I think, sealed events in the afternoons.
I think it's going to be like it's probably going to be like after the first queue is done, or the first preliminary is done, they'll probably have a seal for people that want to stick around and do that.
Yep.
Because like the second preliminary will already have started before the first one ends.
Yeah.
So like it'll basically be like, oh, the guys at like either top 8 or top 16 or we're like on the bubble close, maybe they'll want to do like an 8-man seal or something like that.
And I assume, I haven't actually asked to confirm with the rest of the Vector Sigma team, but is the whole team going to Gen Con? Just like I think the whole team came to Origins, right? Was there anyone that didn't?
Vince wasn't there for Origins. Yep. And I believe at this current time, Adam will not be there for Gen Con.
Gotcha.
But other than that, Vince will be there, Palmer will be there, Scott and I will be there, and Mark will be there. So it'll definitely be the 5 of us, and I think just Bixler will be the only one that won't be there.
Gotcha. That's super. Are you pretty excited about that? Are you going into now that you've qualified, is there a level of relaxation you have, or is it still get there for the prize money? Yeah.
No, it has nothing to do with it. I'm just like hyper competitive. So like, yeah, there was pressure on to get the qualification and to like queue for Sunday and be able to play in that top 32. But it's still the same thing going in, because like everything's going to be brand new now. And especially for me, I'm not going to play in a single tournament in the month of July. So like my first event that I'll play in will probably be on August 1st at Gen Con. So like I'll just have pressure on me from that side, like because like I won't have the muscle memory and stuff like that.
Yeah, and the meta will not be that solidified. It'll just be what we hear from store championships that are going on in the prior weeks and stuff like that. I think we have one local event that's like the second week, so even that event's going to happen, and then there's going to be 2 whole weeks before Gen Con. So I don't know. It's going to be exciting for sure. Have you guys started? I mean, obviously can't share, but have you guys started brewing up anything specific, like the team deck
we have like a spreadsheet, and we have like idea XYZ beat, but like we don't have any like refined deck list yet. They're definitely going to start coming out this week, probably to the patrons and stuff like that. And I think like some of our articles in the coming weeks will be at least dropping some type of like general list that we had started or come with. Me and Mark today, I posted on to do a build the deck. It looks like Megatron's going to be the winner.
I think the audience and there was a conversation about this on the Patreon Discord.
Yeah.
The audience for Transformers is that I think Hasbro might have underestimated the amount of Decepticon love out in the fandom. People like the bad guys. Turns out tanks and jets are pretty cool.
Yeah, apparently. I mean, hey, like, if you can fly away, you can fly away, right? So yeah, I think we're going to be looking to do a couple of those pretty early on, especially because I know we're not actually getting together at all until like July 5th. So like we're not going to have any like actual testing videos or anything like that going on until after that weekend. So we'll probably just have a couple, base theories out there until we can actually get into it and test and get some real lists out there.
Now that you mentioned you start out in World of Warcraft, we'll back up a little bit. What brought you into Transformers was your friendship with, was it with Scott?
Scott.
Yeah. So you two knew each other. He was like, "Come check out this card game."
Yeah, I mean, so me and Scott were teammates for like the better half of World of Warcraft. We had multiple great top 8 finishes and placements of different, all different venues and stuff like that, all different competitions. So we were really good teammates in WoW. And then like when WoW, died, which is still a sad day in my heart. We jumped around from game to game, here's that, here that. I mean, I had a couple kids, so like I wasn't like as committed as like he was, but like we still went to like Florida for nationals for Destiny. We played a little bit of Game of Thrones. We threw our hat in the ring for a couple different decks, a couple different games and stuff like that. It was just the mixed emotion of everything. It wasn't anything that like either of us like were really committed to though. It was just like something to do on a Saturday, So he had told me about Transformers leading up to PAX Unplugged, and I was already going to PAX Unplugged. I went to the first year. I was like, I'll go this year. Why not? Like, it's just a fun time.
Yep.
Now, the first year, I had not played in any card events. I think like I might have did like a 2-headed ogre with my buddy Brian for Magic or something like that just to do it. But I played in the first event on Friday, I believe it was, for Transformers. And then I played in the second one. And then I skipped Saturday morning because I had to pogo for community day. And then I played in the second Saturday one and then Sunday. So I ended up playing in 4 or 5 events that weekend. And I was immediately intrigued. And the game was a lot of fun. I played a ton of Dinobots that weekend.
Dinobots were everywhere that weekend.
Yeah, I was one of the crappy Dinobot players. And then the one event that I did well on was the Saturday afternoon one, which is where I went 4-1 with the touch, basically. It wasn't Scott's version, it was Vince's version, which, whatever. It was a, too tall deck. And then after that weekend, Scott asked me to write an article, about my first impressions. And I was like, oh, yeah, I can do that. And then, like, here I am, like, a month later, and I'm, like, starting a YouTube channel. And I'm like, all right, I guess I'm playing this game now. So yeah, it was just a lot of fun. It was a great first impression of game, and the community was really fun too. It was very, it reminded me a lot of WoW, like just meeting new people from like all over that came out. Like I met a guy from San Francisco. I can't remember his name. I think his name was Kevin. Yeah, Kevin came out from San Francisco. And I was like, man, I can't believe you came all the way here from San Francisco to play in PAX Unplugged. Like that's crazy. And then, like, to full turn that story, I was in San Francisco a couple months ago, and I actually met him at a hobby shop and played at his hobby shop in San Francisco. So, it's just fun to see the community go full circle like that, and it's a lot of fun. It's really enjoyable.
Yeah, it definitely is. So, was there, I guess, like, you went from game's interesting, let me help a buddy out with an article, to want to start a YouTube channel. Was there just like the ramp up of as you saw more and more into the game, or was there any moment that you like had a match or a play and you're like, oh, here's the potential? So that weekend I mostly did like 50-50 with like Dinobots. I had like I went like 3-2, 3-2, 2-3, and then the 4-1 with the touch. So like
from that moment, I kind of like, all right, I guess like I can get in and try. I think the other thing is I think I walked away with like 2 boxes of prizes. So like even like going medium, like I still had 2 boxes of prizes. So like
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, like I guess I got into the game for like free, so that's cool.
Yeah, that's what I've
so
noticed like at Origins. Like I came out like with
yeah,
I was really happy. I was like,
yeah,
oh
yeah,
crap. If anyone
yeah.
out
Like
there is thinking
the
about
prize
Gen
support was
Con,
really nice.
yeah.
It's really stellar.
Yeah,
For
if they
sure.
keep the same one ticket as one booster pack at Gen Con, anyone who's thinking about going, go, because you'll do
Yeah.
well enough to make your entry fee back without
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of
even at
trouble.
like 3-2, you're talking about like half a box or something like that. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
it's like okay, like so I spent $26. I went 3-2, and I still got a half a box worth of prizes. Like,
Yeah.
that seems fine to me,
Yep.
But so what ended up happening is like we did the charity event, which was a couple weeks later, which was kind of I was still like on the fringe, like oh I'll just like hang around, I'll go hang out with my friends or whatever. Mainly Scott and Palmer, who I've known a little bit longer, and then Vince too. Vince was a WoW guy also. I did the charity event, and I did awful in the charity event. I think Scott handed me like the worst 3 characters ever. I don't even remember the deck. I remember I don't think I won a game. It was bad. So then after the charity event, there was like another small event that like nobody could really go to. So like I actually had to like build my own Dinobots deck because like I just happened to open a Grimlock at PAX Unplugged. So I'm like, all right. I looked at my cards. I'm like, I'm like 4 cards away from building Dinobots. So like Vince was coming to the event. I was like, hey Vince, can I borrow like a couple Peace Through Tyrannies and like something else or whatever it was? And I ended up going like X1 at that event. So I finished like 3rd place. I was like, all right, I built my own deck kind of. Like I got into the game. I think I'm getting into this. And now, meanwhile, the entire time, I had met Mark at PAX Unplugged. And I go with this a little bit in my article that like me and Mark just, we connected immediately.
Yeah, I noticed.
Yeah, you were firsthand noticing. So the whole time, like Mark's a big YouTube guy. He watches everyone content on YouTube. Like if you're on YouTube, Mark has watched you. I assure you he has. Kind of just like Cameron here. Cameron watches everybody too. So Mark just kept telling me like, man, I really wish like we could do this. I really wish we could start it. Like, I think it would help the brand a lot and stuff like that. Cause like me and Mark basically had both just joined the team after PAX Unplugged. Like Scott and Mark were like on the Uber one day into PAX Unplugged, and Scott's like, I just want you to know, like, you're a teammate, So like Mark had joined the team and I had joined the team kind of the exact same time. And it was just like probably about like a good like 4 or 5 weeks of Mark just going, man, we should really start a YouTube. So then like I was like, all right, let's do it. Like why not? And then it was just kind of that. Mark really, really wanted to push for it. Scott was like kind of impartial about it, to be honest. I think like he thought he was going to have to do even more work than he already does. Scott runs the website, and for a while it was only Scott running the Facebook. So now Scott runs the website and I run the YouTube, and then like we kind of both run the Facebook. So it definitely took something off of him, so it's less for him to worry about and stuff like that.
Oh, that's funny. So how did Mark dodge the responsibilities on any of those three?
I mean, would you trust Mark with handling any of these things?
Fair enough.
Because
maybe that's part of his strategy. He's like,
yes,
yeah, I can avoid work.
Totally. So that's why Mark doesn't have to do any of those things. We know why. It's okay. Everyone else knows too. So yeah, it's just whatever.
That's funny though. Yeah, no, it's kind of the same thing with our channel. Like we were like, we don't hang out enough. Let's get together and play video games on Sundays. Let's schedule it. And then it's like, oh well, if we're gonna schedule it, let's record it and see what happens. And like, yeah. You end up with a bunch more work without realizing it.
Yes. And then a bunch of complaints.
Yeah. It happens. But yeah, I'm trying to think if I've got anything else for you. I mean, again, the link to the article, if you haven't read Dan's run through Origins, it's really good. You got to top 2. Mad respect to everyone who played, who got to the top 32.
Yeah.
Now that you've gone through, you're piecing together for Gen Con, like you said, there won't be an opportunity to play an event between now and Gen Con. What I thought was interesting is in the first place winner, Stefan S. Akuma, and then Matt also, who got top 4, they both mentioned that they they play solo a lot. Like that's how they do their testing.
Yep.
With you guys having teammates, do you still find the need to play by yourself ever, or is it when you want to practice you play against someone?
So I think like even though like we have like the 5 or 6 of us that'll get together from time to time. Granted, since I've joined the team, I don't think all 6 of us have ever been in the same place for testing. So it's generally like so Scott, Vince, and Palmer all live really close together, so they'll like generally get together like every other week or something like that. And then like me and Mark basically do all of the YouTube stuff. So our testing is really just when we get together to record for YouTube stuff. Now, granted, leading into Origins, after they announced organized play and the sideboard and everything like that, me, Mark, and Scott got together both weekends because we knew that we had to test these things and these theories that we had and stuff like that. So I think even for that, like I said, we're doing like I almost want to say like literally an entire weekend of testing for like the 5th, 6th, and 7th. I'll probably honestly end up sleeping at Mark's for like a day or two. But I know we're all getting together for that. So that'll be like our big initial like run through of everything. But after that, since I'm not going to really be very available, I go on vacation for a week. So like I'm just off the grid for that week. So like that's going to be just like chime in here and there. You know, it's a family thing. So I don't want to be too committed to anything like that.
Yeah.
And then after that, like I'm hoping I can get together once or twice before Gen Con. We had an event scheduled for the 27th that got canceled. So like I can't even go and play in that for a rep. So yeah, it's just the shadow playing will probably happen. That's what I call it. I call it shadow playing. When you play by yourself, basically, or shadow boxing. You know, whatever you want to do. But it'll happen if like they come up with something like when I'm not around, and I'm like, okay, I need to see how this works.
Yeah.
Just generally. Now, granted, I have a couple friends that are like they don't play. Like, no, they didn't go to Origins. They're not going to Gen Con, but I have a couple friends in the local area that like come to some of the local events.
Mm-hmm.
So I might be able to like meet up with them just to like test these theories. Maybe I'll get lucky and I'll get to meet up with Scott for a day, and who knows?
Yep.
But there'll definitely probably be some shadow playing, I'd say.
Is there something in Siege that you are most excited about to test? I mean, you've got the booster. You guys got 3 booster boxes in
Just
the
two.
team? Two.
Just 2.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like 2, and then like through all the like entry free ones.
Yeah.
It was probably like close to a third,
Yep.
You know. But it was just 2.
Is there like Micromasters, Battle Masters, Secret Actions? Is there some mechanical addition that has made the game made the game more exciting for you?
So Micromasters for me are, I don't know, they're really tough to judge like without playing with them, to be quite honest, because like giving up your turn to just play an additional ability, like to play a pep talk or to play a leap into battle.
Play an action.
You're giving up a draw card. You're giving up an action. You're giving up well, not an action. I guess you're replacing your action, but you're giving up an upgrade for the turn and stuff like that. So you're giving up a fair amount to attempt to go ahead on a turn, I guess.
And
if you need to do those things,
probably gonna pop as soon as you use that ability. You get that ability off once a game.
Yeah. So for them, I'm not too crazy about the Battle Masters, specifically the Aimless Raider, the reveal 3 blue and bolt, deal 3 direct damage to something. That's something I'm definitely interested in. That card seems for sure interesting. I like the new Optimus. At 11 stars, I think you can put them in a team and probably have even a couple star cards to play with. So like that could be interesting. Like even like him and Aimless Raider, for example, and then Flame War. I think you're at 23 stars, so you get 2 star cards, which is like whether you're gonna play EMP waves or Energized Field, something like that. Just so like you have more double blues in your deck.
Plus, you're stacking tough 2 across the team.
Well, and bold also. So, like, you can actually maybe attack and get a bold off to deal the 3 damage when you attack.
Mm-hmm.
So something like that's pretty cool. I'm a big fan of the Laser Cutlass, which is the new weapon. It's a rare. It can only go on 7 stars or fewer. It gives you Pierce 3 and +1 attack. So, like, that card in Aerialbots seems pretty stellar.
Seems like a natural fit.
That in, like, even in 3 wide, you can pair it with Hot Rod, and if you go heavy-handed or bigger they are, and then with that weapon you just have Pierce 7, so like your Hot Rod is all of a sudden dealing 7 damage, which is like absurd.
Yeah.
So there's just definitely a couple cards. I'm very interested to see exactly what Secret Actions can do. on the ground floor, they're pretty basic, pretty even. So just to get them out and play some games with them, just to see how the interactions really change up. If it does make combat seem longer because people are overthinking them and stuff like that, even though they're just unavoidable for the most point. We'll see. But there's definitely a ton of new stuff that it's going to change some games for sure. There's a ton of new characters that we'll definitely see play. Unlike how Wave 2, where we really only got like a couple combiner pieces, and then like Bumblebee, Trusted Lieutenant. Like other than that, there's very very minimal characters that actually saw play even at Origins. Like off the top of my head, like the Blue Bud deck with Venom, and then like there was a Nova Star deck.
Yeah, I'm
but
trying.
like really, rather than those like solo characters, there just wasn't that many solo characters out of the Wave 2, as opposed to where I think there's a ton of characters that are going to probably see some play in Wave 3.
Yeah, and I think that's part of like what they've done in terms of, okay, here's Battle Masters, here's bigger guys, and you slot them into teams that are Wave 1 or Wave 2 characters rather than build a new. Like, Firecons, I think, is a bit. It's almost like a trap. I've already tried like building it a couple different ways, and it's like, okay, I don't actually care about all three of them. Let me forget about the other two guys. Just take the one with the 4 orange flips for the 3 damage or whatever it is, and put him in with someone else that has bold and can build a different aggro deck or something like that.
Yeah, Mark said it a couple times now. Firecons is Wave 1 Dinobots with like, I don't know, not a Grimlock.
Yeah, exactly. It's not. Yeah, it's
it's not that impressive deck, if you ask me.
Although I will say, because we were talking about Sealed and you were talking about Sealed before, something I just was talking about Scott with the Flame Feather, the Firecon that does the orange flips defensively seems like a natural fit for Sealed because your deck is already you're gonna be flipping those oranges on defense, and now they just count as blues for him. So so that seems like an interesting Sealed character.
Yeah, he's fine. Definitely. Sealed honestly, like until I was recording a video the other day. I didn't really like go into it as much as I thought I was going to, but I'm telling you, the Sealed format's going to be pretty interesting. Like for your release events next weekend, there's a ton of like just random combination of characters you're going to end up playing, and like the black pips are just like. They're medium, but like they're gonna move the game forward. Yeah, like you're gonna deal damage. You're gonna guarantee some, even against like high armored guys. You're like, well, I'm gonna hit you for 3 every turn. Great, So
yeah, the way the black pips ended up turning out, it almost seems like they were like, okay, we want to make Sealed formats faster. Like, okay,
I mean, like faster is like probably the one way to say it, but for me, it's just going at a pace that's necessary. Mm-hmm. Like if they want to make Sealed a competitive format, it needed something to put it in a timely fashion. Yeah, I think Black Pips guaranteeing damage did that.
Yeah, you got to be able to play your 3 games within that 50-minute time frame.
Yeah, exactly.
That would have been tough, I think, without some additional peers.
Yeah, because you're just gonna have like a bunch of like random dudes attacking and then like dealing 1, like all the time. So like at least in this way, like. There's a ton of black pips in the formats. Like if you open it, you might have like 8 or 9 black pips in your deck, know, and then that's not including like weapons with Pierce or characters with Pierce.
Yeah, putting
so like the game, like those characters are going to be slanted a little bit more, and those cards might actually even be slanted a little bit more, just because like they will stack with the black pips in the Sealed format to make it move.
Or even just get around like on a bigger character like Ion Storm. Like, okay, I don't care about my opponent's defensive flips on him. He's going to swing with 7. And whatever black pip gets through.
Yeah, exactly. So it's interesting. It's to me, you can definitely see that they were starting to lay the ground level for Sealed in Wave 3 for certain.
Mm-hmm. So, I'm thinking unless you've got anything else, I think that's everything I wanted to go over. Yeah, unless you've got anything else you want to say to the audience.
Just wanted to thank you for bringing me on. Awesome. You were a lot of fun at Origins. I had a ton of fun meeting you, and we had dinner a couple nights and stuff like that. That was all great. Definitely another shout out to the other guys in top 4 and top 8 and stuff like that. It's been said a couple times, but the fact that like 4 different content creators were in top 4 was awesome.
Yeah.
Brian and Matt and Stefan.
Like they're the guys that are putting the most time in.
Yeah, I mean, you could go that way. I mean, like, sometimes you'll hear from me all the time, it's better to be lucky than good. So, like, we were all kind of lucky that day at the end of the day to
single
even be in that
elimination adds a
position.
little bit. Yeah.
You know, I said at the beginning of the day, like, single elimination's awful. Like, I can't stand it, but, like, I understand why it had to happen. So, like, at the end of the day, it's like, all right, well, this is what we are. Like, this is what it is. So, like, we have to go on that base level. But it was still pretty cool to see, you know, 4 different content creators that all put in hard work, that all put in the time, get into those 4 slots, which is awesome.
Actually, you just brought up a good segue.
Yeah.
Well, we'll keep talking for a little bit longer. Have you read Ken's article on his post Origins?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Do you have any thoughts on kind of some of the things he noted and changes that he's making, or anything that you kind of wish that he might, maybe he's still looking at and he hasn't made a change? The single elimination thing got me thinking, because that would be, you know, if we do some sort of Swiss format for the next qualifier, like, I would have not mind that at all.
So nothing is confirmed, obviously, with Gencon.
Yep.
But you know, I talked to Ken like all weekend, which was just, you know, lucky of me to be able to have those conversations with him all weekend. But I know after the finals, we had talked for a while, probably like half hour, 45 minutes with Ken. You know, me, Scott, Mark, Palmer, Bixler, Kent, I believe was there too. So like, there was a bunch of us sitting there talking with them, and that article was honestly a lot based off of the conversation we had with him. So a lot of the things he said in the article, we actually heard firsthand. Mm-hmm. My favorite thing was definitely using all your stars, basically like being able to use all of your characters in time. Yeah. That I actually very much would enjoy, and I think that would be a huge difference in time procedure.
Yeah, because it's such a difference between swinging with, say, Optimus Prime and swinging with one of the Aerialbots. Like, if you get the opportunity to swing with all of the Aerialbots and both of your 2 tall guys, it seems like it's more of a less of a up to chance of when they call time thing.
Sure. I mean, so the thing was that it was the first time that we were playing in these rules, right? Yep. So I said, literally from the Hot Shot podcast we released on day 1 of, like, they announced it, was, we're the guinea pigs. And I was fine with being the guinea pig.
Yep.
But I think a lot of players just, and even us ourselves, were not prepared for the endgame procedure, specifically the endgame procedure in top 32. You really have to change up your play, and it's very tough when you don't have a clock in front of you. So, like, if you don't know that this is your last turn, and you're like mid-turn and they call time, you're kind of at a mega disadvantage at that point, because, like,
actually, could you talk about the end game, just because I don't know if anyone who wasn't there isn't as familiar how the top.
All right, so like I'm just gonna use Mark for example. So Mark lost in time in the top 32, and what ends up happening is he's in his play, and he's already like kind of in the middle of his turn, and then time gets called. So at this point, he was kind of like already in his head, like, okay, I'm gonna get another turn. But he's not, because you only get, the active player gets the turn to finish, and then the opposing player gets one turn.
One response, yep.
And then in the top 32 cut, it goes to damage. So whatever damage dealt was, the winner who dealt, the player who dealt more damage wins the game.
When you say that, you mean on the field, whatever?
No, so like even killed characters.
Okay.
So like Sentinels in the KO zone, if you were playing against Sentinels, every one of their characters would count towards the damage, which means you probably would lose the game almost immediately.
Yep.
But like, so he's in a situation where he's trying to figure out what he's going to do this turn and next turn, thinking that he had another turn because he had another character, etc. But he didn't. So what he ends up doing is he ends up trying to play it safe, basically, and he keeps a bigger they are in his hand so he could attack with Hot Rod the next turn and deal a guaranteed 4 damage. The problem is he never gets to that turn.
Right.
So all he ends up doing is playing a security checkpoint and attempting, I guess, to take an upgrade away from his opponent, but it didn't actually present any more damage.
Right. Had he known, he would have made a different decision.
Had there been more practice and knowing exactly how it was supposed to end up, he would have probably just played the bigger they are that turn, attack with Optimus to deal more damage. Because what ends up happening is that he attacks with Optimus and then flips 2 upgrades, so he doesn't get any more help from Optimus. So it only deals 5 damage. His opponent has a Flame War with an Energon Axe on her, and then had a bigger they are in the KO pile. So his opponent goes flip Optimus Prime, get back my bigger they are, play bigger they are on Flame War, deal 6, and wins the game by 1 point of damage. So it's stuff like that can't stress enough, like when you guys start doing these store championships and stuff
Yep.
like that, you need to practice these end game procedures and stuff. Now again, the time thing is only going to be in your top 8 or stuff like that, your single elimination stuff. But you definitely want to start being strict on your clocks at your local stores, especially in the store championships. These guys are trying to qualify for the Energon Invitational. They need to know how to play with the clock, because all weekend long there were players that were, a little bit at a disadvantage not being used to playing with that clock.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't stress enough, like, you need to start cracking down at your local stores, at your store championships, at whatever event you guys are running. That clock is going to be important for any one of your players that plan on going to Gen Con, that plan on going to the Energon Invitational, stuff like that. Practice is only going to make you better at it.
Yeah, definitely sticking to that format is something that we're going to be doing, because you're right, that familiarity, just there's a level of comfort that changes the way you're decision making, because you don't have to worry about, okay, where am I on time or what happens next. You kind of know those things. You can think through your steps a little faster. Yeah. What I guess just a quick shout out to the staff who hosted John Temple, the Pastimes, the judges and stuff. I think they were very good about being adaptive, because like you said, we were the guinea pigs. The judges were less familiar with this game than they probably were at previous judging events with other games. But I think they all picked up and did a great job.
Well, it helped that they had Ken on call all weekend.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I don't know if he's coming to Gen Con. It might be Drew.
I don't think Ken and John, I believe or not. I know Drew is for certain, and
which will be exciting, because I had not met him before. I think you probably.
No, I haven't met him. I saw him at PAX, but at that time, I wasn't. I wasn't playing the game, wasn't doing anything. So I haven't formally introduced myself or anything like that. So it'll be fun to meet him.
Yeah. Is there anything else you're looking forward to at Gen Con? Do you guys plan on, because I know one thing I think you put it in your article was come to the event early, sleep there the night before, don't try and get there the day of the first qualifier if you're planning on playing in that qualifier.
Yep. There's multiple reasons for that. One being you can't control travel sometimes.
Yeah.
So I would much rather get in Wednesday, if you can, because if you go to the airport Thursday morning, even if you're on the 5 a.m. flight, well, that 5 a.m. flight gets delayed, an hour. You might even miss the first flight because you have to get your badge. And Gen Con is huge. Gen Con's I think 70 or 80,000 people in one city.
Yeah, I've heard it's
so it is obnoxious.
Been, so yeah.
It is obnoxious.
Yeah, I'm definitely planning on Ubering. I'm not even going to worry about parking like I did at Origins.
Don't do it. Yep, not even worth it. I think we're staying in a house. I think that's a half hour away, and we're still going to Uber in every day because we just don't want to deal with it. Even eating. Honestly, it's almost Origins, I think, was okay with eating next to conventions.
Bring bananas and granola bars.
No, I'm just talking about even after the events. After the events, going out to eat, after a 7-round event.
Oh yeah,
which
those restaurants are going to be slammed.
It probably puts us in the crack of dinner time. It might not even be worth it to try and get food. It's that's why we're staying far away. We're just going to eat away from the convention probably every day. Just it's just not going to be worth the hassle. And that's not even talking about if we have to play in 2 events in one day, stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm dreading that. I'm fingers crossed. Get in on the Thursday morning prelim, so I don't have to worry about evenings.
Listen, only 8 guys are gonna get in, and neither one of us did that the day one last time. So let's not count on it for next time either.
Yeah.
So I can't stress though, you just can't control travel. So for us, I had said to them right away, we should go in Wednesday afternoon, get there. If we get delayed or anything, it doesn't matter. We have all day Wednesday to really get there. So as long as we get there, get in, get to the house, get a good night of sleep. You don't have to worry about getting up at 4 a.m. to go to the airport, or you don't have to leave at midnight, on Wednesday to make it to the jet. It's not worth it. I'm telling you guys, I went to Gen Con 5 years in a row for World of Warcraft. And I drove all 5 years. And I remember that last year, I was like, guys, I'm not driving next year. We're not doing this again. And then there was never a next year. So I didn't happen. but I said to Scott, we talked about it a couple months ago, if they were going to do it. I'm like, yeah, I'll definitely fly for sure. And I can't stress enough, just get there early, get some rest, because those days are going to be long. They're going to be tough. And like Cameron said, bring some snacks, get some water, get get like a thermos or something like that to get water from water fountains because like everything's ridiculously overpriced.
Yeah, yeah. And
It's definitely worth it to stock up for your weekend.
Yeah, and if I'm accurate in like kind of where I think the population is going to go in terms of, we had somewhere between 80 and 100 unique players at Origins. People are saying we might see double that at Gencon. Those are going to be some long prelims. That's probably 7 rounds.
It's seven
5.
rounds at 65 players.
Yeah.
So like our highest I think was 46 players at Origins,
and we did 6, and that still felt long.
I just won't be shocked if we have double those players. Like if we might have 80 plus players easily. So be prepared for 7 rounds. What I can tell you right now from day one, that like if you're 2-2 in one of those events, you're not going to qualify. Drop, go get dinner, go get relaxed, sign up for the second event, go at that. It's not going to be worth it to stick around and see if like you can go 4-2 and then maybe go 5-2. Like it's probably not worth it to chance it and then miss the second qualifier if you're in that 50-50 bracket.
Yep.
That I can tell you right now, if I'm 2-2 at any point in one of those first events, I'm dropping immediately and just going to go relax and play in the next one.
Yeah, that's what I learned on Saturday, was it was okay to drop, and I thought I would feel bad dropping, and I didn't. I felt terrific. I was like, I've already qualified. I don't care. I'm going to go walk around, check out some board games, relax, recenter myself.
Yep. I mean, that was me on day one. I mean, I was 1-3 on day one. I'm like, all right, I'm done. I don't want to play. I don't even care about this last round. I'm just going to just be done with it and start over tomorrow. You know, like it just, at that point, it was like, nope, not worth my time.
Yeah. And it paid off. It paid off.
Yeah, I'd say.
I think, I guess if anyone is trying to prep for Gen Con, obviously you guys, you are running a Patreon with all sorts of levels. I know I started out at Origins at I think the lower tier, like just
I think you were at the
whatever got
like
me into
Facebook
the Discord
group tier or whatever. Yeah.
Which is great because for me, like as I'm not an experienced constructed player, I don't build my own deck lists. I'm starting to now. They're pretty terrible. If anyone ever wants to check out one of my videos,
FireCon's list was.
Well, you know, FireCons, they need bold, right? Like that makes sense. Yeah, just put all the bold in there. All the bold.
It's fine. It's fine.
So you guys got deck lists on there. Then you go up a tier, and there's Discord stuff to chat and ask questions. Then you go up a tier, and you guys got coaching. So if anyone's like, Gen Con's my only opportunity to make it in, if you want to make the best of the opportunity, I highly recommend checking out Vector Sigma's website, their YouTube, and their Patreon. I think that's it, Dan. Thanks for talking with me. Good to catch up.
Yeah, man, I had a blast. I'll come on anytime, buddy.
Yeah. All right, man. Yeah, and stay tuned for more terrible deck lists.
I'm good. I saw enough.
All right, man. Have a good one.
Thank you.